podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the final edition of Achtung Millwall for this eternal pre-season period. Friendly football has now finally come to a close last Saturday. Joining me to chew over the cud of the Millwall situation and also to delve into the little-known world of Millwall celebrity. It's our very own celebrity. It's Mr. Neil Fissler. How are you doing, Neil?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I am grateful that the season is just around the corner. I said to Cousin last night, Yevla messaged her and said, I can't wait to be depressed twice a week for the next 9 months. Because it seems to... when you finish in May, did we finish very early May, didn't we?
It was the first week of May, I think, wasn't it? Swansea away, was that the 4th of May, I think?
Yeah, and we're now the first week of August. It's kind of all right. Time. It's kind of all right for the first 5 or 6 weeks, isn't it? You're not kind of missing it. But for the first 3 or 4 weeks, you're not missing it.
No.
Start to think, football's soon I could do with watching a game.
Absolutely. Watford, of course, looming Saturday. But you're right. I mean, the whole rhythm of your life is upended. Really, it's a bit like a form of purgatory, isn't it? There's nothing wrong, but there's nothing right either. It's a long summertime. So I'm personally really glad it's over and we're ready to go now, because the same reasons you've just said. It's just nice to get back to normality again, I think. But Neil, it wouldn't be a new season without a new Millwall injury crisis. Ian Fleming didn't take the field on Saturday in our final friendly against Southampton. Apparently he's got a calf injury, to join one or two others. I think it's Murray Wallace and who was the other one? Got here? Nino Adam Malarkey, one of our prospects.
Yep,
out injured.
Billy, I think he's
Billy
injured.
Mitchell. Yeah, so it wouldn't be Millwall without the season's look, and also, of course, the suspension of Jeffet Tanganga. So, it's we start off with a squad that is, the consensus online is we need more players. I mean, even Neil Harris in some of his post-match interviews has said we need to add 1 or 2. But we're down with an injury crisis to start the season. It wouldn't be Millwall without one, mate, would it?
It wouldn't be Millwall without a crisis, full stop, would it, in one way, shape or form? What can you say? It's frustrating because they've had all summer.
Yeah.
And we knew at the end of last season that we were going to be 4 or 5 players short, weren't we? And then you take out the loan players, okay, one of them's become a permanent signing. Somebody who I didn't think that we'd ever have a chance of signing in a month of Sundays.
No, there was a big signing, Tanganga, wasn't it?
Then we needed another goalkeeper.
Yes, yeah.
Very well publicised. And we've signed, 3 players? Is it 3 or 4 players? 2 goalkeepers.
2 goalkeepers, the striker, Lang stuff, yeah.
And you kind of think we haven't stepped forward. In fact, it looks as if we've stepped backwards slightly. And it's a week before the start of the season. It's almost like we're scrambling around to see who we can get in, to see who the Premier League teams all let go on loan. And obviously West Brom, there's all kinds of speculation flying around, isn't there? About
Jason Malumbi is the story, yeah.
And will Jed Wallace? I know that H wants Jed Wallace.
Would you have him back, Neil, Jed, if he was available? Would you take him back? You wouldn't?
No.
Not at all?
No, we took the knee, so I think that'll go down pretty badly with the vast majority of our fans. Yeah,
We're very picky support if that's going to be part of it.
Yeah, but he celebrated in front of Millwall fans.
Yeah, he did do that. That's I think he got himself a bit hyped up for that return of Jed thing
Yeah,
and embarrassed himself on that front.
yeah.
The other side of it, I
Fair,
don't know.
but to be fair, he was very good in the aftermath of John Berylson's death. Yep,
Yes.
absolutely superb. But and also the way that he left the club. If he'd have been honest, 3 or 4 months before and said, "Look, I'm going to leave at the end of the season. I want to go elsewhere," I'd have probably said, "Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, you've done your time with us. Good luck." But it was almost as if it was dangled in front of us for 3 or 4 months that Jed might stay, and then all of a sudden, I've signed for West Bromwich Albion. I don't begrudge him signing for West Bromwich Albion because he's obviously earning pretty well there, and he's got to look after himself towards the back end of his career, and he's got to look after his family. But it just at, at Millwall, we have an obsession with re-signing players.
Well, we do that. That'd be one thing that I would pick up on the return back. I mean, Malombi's a lot younger, isn't he? If that is a deal, we don't know.
Isn't
The
he?
the, the rumours are on the London News Online. Neil Harris didn't deny that we're interested, so let's see where the Jason Malombi thing goes. Jed Wallace, well, he's. I know what you mean about the returning back to old players. I mean, this has been a repeat thing across our our time as Mill fans. Um, I'm going to leave aside the taking of the knee because everyone's got their own opinions on the wisdom or not of that. But as a footballer, we talk purely for footballing reasons. He's going to be at the back end of his career now. Really like to see us. I'd like to see this Adam Mayor who we signed, and we haven't really seen him at all. So we don't
Yeah,
know.
but he's injured, of course, isn't
He's
he?
injured. Yeah, that's right. But I mean, they're going to get better. They're going to presumably going to return to first team contention. It would be nice to see some younger talent. I mean, I think if we have a role in, if you can describe it in these terms now, it's as a club that finds and develops and brings through talent. I mean, that's got to be really who we are. Whether that involves going back to Jed Wallace, I don't know. I mean, how realistic that story is, I don't know. West Brom were under a transfer embargo for misdemeanors, financial. So that may influence some of their
Rather we
decision
look for a
making.
younger player. I'd much rather we look for a younger player rather than how old's Jed now? 31, 32,
He's got to
maybe.
be in his early 30s, yeah. He was a funny player, Jed. I mean, he was effective for us. I mean, if we take a step back and think of him as he was, he was willing to do the unusual on the ball, Neil. So he was a risk taker, and if you take risks, then you tend to only focus on the ones that come off and forget the numbers of poor decisions because he could be an self-indulgent player at times. He wasn't particularly fast, as I recall him. I know where he stands now. I don't know pace wise, but he could produce some spectacular moments, couldn't he?
Which is the one thing we do need. It's noticeable in the pre-seasons that I've seen. We look pedestrian
Well,
most
yeah,
of the time.
no inventiveness is the story that I've picked up, and I've not watched any of the friendlies, but the need for invention on the ball,
Yep.
you
And
know,
then when we inject a little bit of pace in the team,
yeah,
look quite good. Yeah. And we've signed Langstaff,
yeah,
who
up
by
front,
all
yeah,
accounts you've got to create for him.
yeah, yeah,
That's my biggest worry is that it's been our Achilles heel for 5, 6, 7 years, maybe even
chance creation, lack of, yeah,
our, our X whatever it is.
mm,
Yeah, whatever they call it these days. Uh, our, the number of chances we create is poor. Is
absolutely,
very, very, very poor.
yeah.
And okay, he will create some chances for us, but I think we need pace.
I
You,
agree, I
like,
agree there.
you've got to speed up the game in the championship. You can't be you can't be pedestrian.
No, you
My
can't.
hope is that Marco and SA come on leaps and bounds. I think SA in the pre-season games I've seen of him, he's starting to look pretty decent, isn't he? And Marco, I think, is a player that will benefit from a long run in the side.
Well, it'd be wonderful to see both flower and take root, as they use a gardening metaphor, in the side.
I still think we need a bit of pace. And
I agree.
people go on about what's he called, Longman. But let's not be honest. Yeah, but let's be honest about it. But he's now injured. But for 6-7 months, he was appalling last season.
Yeah, like a lot of players that came to life under Neil Harris, under his magic spell. You know.
Neil Harris got hold of him, and he looks. Yeah, but he looked like a bit of a player. But what would he be like if he came back? Could Harris get that tune out of him again? But £1 million, it's an awful big gamble, isn't it?
Well, it is for us. I mean, that in a sense, that question. I mean, the question hangs over Neil Harris as much as. I mean, he's certainly proven his Millwall credentials. Let's call it that. He's come back to us, saved our season, saved our place in the Championship last term. Whether it can be sustained, 46 game program is a tough one. We don't have a squad that looks terribly, but the depth is, I think you've just said it, Neil. It's got, is reduced. We do need to work on how we play the game. It's going to be interesting to see what tactics and what style of play we take up against Watford. It's a bit of an unknown. There's a lot of unknown factors for this season ahead. It's quite hard to know, how you feel about it. I mean, it's great to see us come back and get football back again. But I'm not sure that I can say that I know what to expect out of the season. It's a bit of an unknown quantity in many respects.
Yeah, you get the doom and gloom merchants that think, "Oh, we're going to be relegated," and then you.
We always run a risk of the relegation. We're amongst the least financially, rich clubs in the league. So there's always a chance of that.
Podcast, the Football League expert podcasts that think we're going to struggle. But to be honest, this is Millwall, and Harris got something out of these players last year. And if he can get the same out of them again, he's deserved a chance to get the same out of them again. And it won't be for the lack of trying he won't get something out of them again. Because I hate this phrase, but he gets us. He understands.
It's Millwallness.
I absolutely detested that when he came out with Millwallness. But he's actually bang on, yeah? There's a DNA in this club, and you've got to be of a DNA for this club.
It's going to be an emotional day versus Watford, but I can't imagine. We had an emotional day last season at home to Bristol on opening day at home, and that was a flop. But I can't imagine Neil Harris' side, no matter how hit by injuries, will let an emotional day like Watford pass without giving everything they've got to give. I mean, who knows how the result will go? We hope for a win, but he'll certainly make sure that team goes out and plays in the right way for the Millwall crowd that's going to be fired up. So I'm really looking forward to the season. Don't know where it'll finish, listeners. I would like to think that a mid-table would be probably a realistic aim, but avoiding relegation, I always think, is the number one target. So we'll see. Personally, I just want to get back to going to football again, Neil. I'm looking forward to that, if nothing else.
Nick, I go into every season hoping that we finish around about 10th, 12th. And I'll go into...
That will do me.
The bigger emotional bit for you will be you turn up and you find out that they've actually pressure washed your seat in the general area. Right?
Birdshit corner. Oh dear, that will be wonderful. If you can go to the football and sit on your seat and not have to be constantly worrying about bird-related avian flu conditions, then that would be a big advantage, Mill. I don't know if you're listening. There was I saw someone send me a picture of a stadium somewhere where they were burning off the bird shit with a blowtorch arrangement. I'm not looking for that. I just want hot water and mop and bucket before a game. That's all I'm asking for. But in fact, that was my last conversation, Neil, with the dearly departed Steve Kavanagh. I felt a bit guilty about it. It was my last online tweet conversation, not tweet, WhatsApp, was about bird shit, and then he was gone. It's a strange way to leave it, wasn't it?
Yeah, but are you actually going to tell the listeners that you were actually WhatsApp friends with Steve Kavanagh?
Well, about friends, I had his number, which I would only use, normally is when he wanted something off of me, to be honest. But if I'd only I would send him a picture if I got into the stadium and I would go to sit in my seat, which I pay for, I'm not like everyone else does. And then you go to sit on it and it's covered in bird shit. And I keep telling him, and it keeps coming as a surprise that there's a problem with birds in that corner. Then, I had his WhatsApp number, listeners. So,
yeah,
anyway,
but it must be influential.
Oh, it's a giddy experience now.
Yeah, but like another
was it was past tense now. It's gone. So that's my any influence I might have had just went with it. It never got mopped down. So that was the limit of my influential times at the Den. Soon went. There we are. Anyway, that's the Millwall news, such as I think we want to cover it. We all know the season's looming, and we all read the same websites about injuries and transfer rumours. We'll see weeks ahead. But Neil and I thought that the Mill Sing the news is grim at the moment. I thought it might be nice just to liven us all up with a short consideration of the rarefied world of Millwall celebrity. So we're going to be coming back after these messages with a kind of a to and fro, a rap battle between Neil Fissler and I for Millwall celebrities who follow the club. We'll be right back.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back to the show, dear listeners. Neil, back in the 1970s, I remember as a kid being wildly impressed by Chelsea having Raquel Welch as their celebrity fan. I remember Henry Kissinger, the ex-American Foreign Secretary equivalent, taking Raquel Welch to, and she was wearing an all-blue kit, Chelsea kit, and I've been very impressed by that back then. We've always struggled by comparison. We've never really hit the kind of Raquel Welch in her pomp level of celebrity. We can muster one or two, can't we, between us? We've come up with a few names here, Mill celebrities.
Yeah, celebrity Millwall fans. It doesn't quite go well, does it? It doesn't. Yeah, but
it doesn't.
If you look at Premier League games, especially London games, and they always seem to have a fair smattering of people in attendance, but it's a little bit different down the Den.
Historically so, but we have an edge to us which I think does attract. I mean, I've really stretched the definition of Millwall supporting celebrities here, listeners. Let's be full disclosure up front before this conversation gets into its stride. I mean, some of these are a stretch. I'm both in the word celebrity, Neil, and also Millwall supporting. There are some fairly loose associations.
Yeah, I've got an even more loose association.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to kick us off. And this is he. In his day, he was more than a celebrity. He was a major figure of stage and sport, to be honest. Which is George Roby, Sir George Roby, I should call him, who actually signed for us, Neil, and was probably best known as a comedian, musical singer, and actor in the early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century. I'm just reading from his Wikipedia profile here. His famous number for all you kids out there there is a pub called Sir George Roby, which I think is a music venue, but his famous song that he would do would be "If You Were the Only Girl in the World and I Was the Only Boy," being the refrain. Major figure in musical at the time, and quite a coup when he signed for us. He signed as an inside left, I believe.
Yeah, the Prime Minister of Mirth, I believe.
Prime Minister of
I
Mirth.
believe he was nicknamed. He's in my Who's Who book. So, yeah, I think he genuinely was a fan. Yeah,
Of Millwall.
and
Yeah.
attended games, fundraised. He was, but he was a big fundraiser anyway. But a decent footballer by all accounts, and even better cricketer. I think he played for the MCC.
He did. Member of the MCC, and there's a cigarette card image of him with the MCC badge on Wiki. I mean, you can't stress enough. He was a major figure in show business, you know, by by the standards of the day. So it's a bit like, I'm trying to think of someone now. I don't know. No one really like him now, but a comedian and
Probably
actor
actually.
and
He's
singer.
probably, I don't know, would you? He might be the Anton Deck of his day.
Well, it would be a bit like Ant or Deck also playing for England cricket, perhaps, you know, in one or two of the lesser matches, and being, you know, on the fringes of the professional game. I mean, Roby played for Millwall. He also turned out in his time for Hull City and Chelsea. He's also played for Yorkshire County Cricket.
Glasgow Rangers. He played it. I
MCC.
think he played a couple of friendlies for Glasgow Rangers as well.
Yeah, he's an accomplished violinist. He became a skilled craftsman making. I mean, the man was like a Renaissance
Flash
man, I suppose.
bastard, really, wasn't he? He was good at everything. It was a nothing this guy couldn't turn his hand to. Be the kind of
Not really.
oh
no.
god, here he goes again. He can do it, can't he?
So I suppose he's probably, you know, if you take away the humorous side of some of these names and look at it neutrally, he's probably the biggest celebrity that's ever followed or supported Millwall because of the sheer stature of him in the realm of show business and also many other fields. So Sir George Roby is first on my list, closely followed by Des O'Connor, who used to write a column for our matchday programme. Neil, Des O'Connor, comedian and singer, TV personality of the 60s, 70s, 80s. He was quite longevity. He went to the 90s as well.
Mate, he was a huge name.
Didn't he?
When I was a kid, Des O'Connor was absolutely a huge name in show business.
Yeah. Born in Stepney, Des O'Connor. And I presume he was a Millwall fan. He used to write a column. I think he played for Millwall Reserves or something like that, or he was on the youth side. But it was certainly appear when I first started going in the early 70s. The Des O'Connor column was a regular feature. I mean, how much of a fan he really was, I never quite worked out, but it would certainly appear regularly. His column was never Millwall related. It's always about other stuff, you know, show business, linkage stuff, and issues in the game and things. He never really spoke much about Millwall from memory, but it was quite a you know, as you say, he was a big star, a big TV star. And it was quite a coup for the club to get him into the matchday program. He was a regular butt of Morecambe and Wise shows. That, you know, they'd always make a joke about how poor his singing was. I mean, it wasn't a style of singing for me, but you know, that was a regular feature of their shows week in, week out.
That's right. Yeah, no, I can raise you one there. Well, I can't raise you one, but
raise me one.
Eamon Andrews. This is your
Eamon Andrews. Millwall
apparently fan. Was on the Millwall Club as Millwall Supporters Club board. According to Dave Sullivan.
I didn't know that.
According to Dave.
Well, I'm not going to argue with Dave Sullivan on that front.
Sullivan either. He apparently was Millwall Supporters Club board. Something I didn't know. So, yeah, for those people that don't know, Eamon Andrews presented This Is Your Life.
Major show. Huge show when it's time.
When he used to pitch up with a big red book, and the guests would look shocked, embarrassed.
Or hostile on occasion, but it basically was a biography of their life, wasn't it? Usually sportsmen. I remember he did George Best once.
Yeah, well, anybody. It ran for donkey's years, didn't it? From the I think from the late 50s to the 80s, I can remember it. I think. And
that was a catchphrase. So they'd normally spring the celebrity. It was going to be a show where they did a biography of their life, and they find, you know, their teacher from school,
Yeah,
Neil,
they
or some
haven't
old mate that they'd worked with on a building site or
yeah,
something, you know.
somebody they hadn't met for 50 years, and they brought them
Yeah,
back
it's
to life.
hugely popular, hugely popular. I think he'd also worked as a sports commentator. I think he'd done some boxing commentary.
Yes, he was a boxing commentator
Yeah,
initially, I believe, Eamon Andrews. Maybe, am I right in thinking he might have been one of the first presenters of Match of the Day?
he could well be. I'm just looking, World of Sport. Just looking at the credits on Wikipedia. Eamon Andrews. So World of Sport, Cracker Jack. To this is which was a children's thing. What's My Line was a big show. That was like a quiz show. We had to guess the occupation. But I'm sure he had done football commentary and boxing commentary.
Yeah, no, he definitely did boxing commentary. Yeah, well, I can remember it. He was, he was pre Harry Carpenter,
Yeah, that's
I
right.
believe.
But I did not know, and I take my hat off to Dave Sullivan's knowledge there, that he was on the Millwall Supporters Club board. So wow, that's a new one. Sprung me there, Neil. I'm going to look back at my list now. I mean, famous one. It divides opinion. Danny Baker. I remember reading Danny Baker when I used to get the NME religiously every week back in the 70s, and he was like there. I think he started working there as a receptionist and managed to wangle his way onto the journalistic lists. But he formed a TV career, Danny Baker, and he's still going now. He has his ups and his downs, shall we say. We won't go any further on that. But certainly a Millwall fan. He's been seen regularly at the Den. I mean, he knows he's Millwall. What can I say? That's probably enough I want to say about Danny Baker for the moment. But you know, he certainly is a Millwall fan. So that's not a stretch to say that. I've got another one on my list here. Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, Neil. Apparently, a bit of a stretch to say Mill supporter, but he's spoken very well of us. Green Day being a major American rock band, according to my. I don't really know much of the material. Do you know your Green Day, Neil? You're a music man, aren't you?
I know a little bit, not my kind of indie
Sound.
music, to be honest.
No,
So, yeah, to say that he's a Millwall fan,
I'm
can't
stretching it.
imagine him.
You know, we've gone through the decent ones. I mean, now we're into the stretch zone now, aren't we?
Yeah, we can't imagine him at Plymouth Argyle away in February when he's freezing his bollocks off when it's fucking dang we're right.
I did say it was a loose association. He spoke well of going to Millwall. I think he said something along the lines of, if you want London culture, then go to Millwall, and he'd been to a game or something like that. So it is a stretch, listeners. But less of a stretch, in fairness, is Lorraine Chase. Remember Lorraine Chase? She claimed to be a Millwall fan. She was a fashion model from the Luton Airport. She was a fashion model in her day, going back to the 1970s here, younger listeners. And then she featured in an advertising campaign. Was it for Campari, Neil? Where
It was Campari soda, and that's where Luton Airport came from,
because
wasn't it?
her man in the scene, she was a very attractive girl. Without sounding too sexist, she was a very attractive woman, and her kind of opposite number in the scene. Giving my age away, listeners. But anyway, he says to her, "Well, you wafted here from paradise," and to which she replies, "No, Luton Airport." And that became a catchphrase, became a national catchphrase. You can't, I mean, kids now probably wonder what on earth I'm talking about, but this was a thing.
Mate, it was huge. It was up there with Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Exactly.
Yeah,
it was
the Hovis advert and all that kind of stuff. It's because we had nothing else to watch, youngsters. There's nothing else to.
Exactly. You had 3 channels. Yeah. So you were forced to watch these adverts, these advertising campaigns.
That's right. You got to know them, and they became points of conversation. You would say that to each other, and you know, it was considered funny. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. Yeah, and her opposite number was played by Jeremy Clyde, who I've never heard of, but see, Lorraine was having drinks with an elegant, sophisticated gentleman suitor, played by Jeremy Clyde. Upon his romantic question, were you truly wafted here from paradise? Lorraine would declare in her broadest southeast London accent, nah, Luton Airport. And she comes from Deptford. She's still going. She's still out there, still going. So good luck to Lorraine.
Really? Is she really?
Yeah, she is. I think I saw on, might have been on Instagram, Mark Baxter, another well-known face around the Mill scene. Mark Baxter, he'd said hello to her and took a picture of her, like a selfie. She's all done a bit of acting. She was in Holby City. She was in Emmerdale, bits and pieces, and she's a musical, musical Guild of Great Britain. Apparently, she's a member of that. So. Panto and the like. So she's still going. Yeah. Good luck to Lorraine Chase. I do remember she once, I suppose coming from Deptford, where was she going to follow? It's got to be Millwall, isn't it? Who's on your list next, Neil? Who have you got on your list of Mill celebs?
Right, I was going to say Danny Baker was educated at
Haberdasher Askies.
Yes, that's the one. Hatcham College, New Cross.
Yeah.
Same place as Barnes Wallis.
Barnes Wallis, designer of the jet engine. Yeah.
Yep. For the bouncing bomb, born in Derbyshire.
Yeah.
But I believe his parents were, or certainly his father was, a doctor in New Cross, Deptford.
Yeah.
And this I read on Hoff a couple of years ago, that Barnes Wallis was a Millwall fan. I could just imagine when they're dropping bombs on the Ada and the Mer and all of that lot, he's singing "Fuck 'em all."
It's wonderful stuff. I mean, bouncing bomb. I thought he'd contribute to the jet engine design. I think he was involved in aircraft design.
But the design of the Lancaster bomber or something like that. Maybe the Spitfire, something like. He was a big reason for the victory.
Absolutely.
In World War.
Absolutely.
He was. This is a serious stretch, Nick. Yeah, I'm only going by the fountain of all knowledge that is Hoff.
I wouldn't question anything written on Hoff.
I thought a biography of him, and unfortunately there was no mention of Millwall in there.
There is a Lewisham Council plaque at 241 New Cross Road in New Cross, where Wallace lived from 1892 to 1909. That would have been a touch earlier than, but we're still stretching it. If it's on Hoff,
but he was still living in the area.
Yeah.
In the 20s. I did have a look on the 1921 census, and he was living in the area at least until the mid-20s.
That's good enough
so it's
for
not
me.
Inconceivable. No. It's not inconceivable.
No.
And I think there was a third famous Millwall fan that went to that school as well, wasn't there?
Haberdasher Askies.
I believe Steve Harley went to that school.
Funny enough, Steve Harley was just on my list next, so that we've come together there. Steve Harley of Cockney Rebel. I've got to be honest, when I was about 13, 14 years old, I was obsessed by Cockney Rebel. I thought they were a fantastic band, Neil. Steve Harley's voice, I still listen to it now. You know, I'll still put it on the stream, have a listen every now and again, because I just thought the music of Cockney Rebel at that time was so different, so unusual. The use of violins in a kind of a rock context, I thought was brilliant, and the lyrics were surreal, psychedelic kind of lyrics, you know. And he had a brilliant voice. And it turns out he was a Millwall fan, and you did an interview with him, didn't you? Before he sadly passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did with Mickey Simpson.
That's right.
During lockdown.
Yeah.
And mate, he was a big Millwall fan in the 60s and 70s, and still followed the club's fortunes.
That's incredible. I never knew that. At the time.
Sadly died a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
last year.
He was born in 1951 in Deptford. His stage name was Steve Harley. His real name was Stephen Nice, Nice. Born in Deptford, 1951. He passed away, as you say, in Suffolk, aged 73. Singer, songwriter, musician, and a very, very good one. One of my favourites. I mean, I would still listen to the first Cockney Rebel albums called Psychomodo, I think it was. There was some tracks on there that I just think are standout tracks. Brilliant stuff. And yeah, Millwall fan. So I can't, he's my favourite Millwall celebrity, if I'm going to be honest with you, Neil. Also on my list to move along, I've got quite a long list here. Frank Harper, son of Dave Harper, ex-Millwall player. Frank Harper played in the what was it? The football hooligan film. Oh God, what's it called? Football Factory. I couldn't think of it.
Factory. And yeah, very good interview with Frank Harper on the Criminal Connections podcast, where he talks about Millwall a little bit. I think if actually you look at that film, Football Factory,
yeah,
we can probably cross quite a few off the list at the same time. Roland Mokonan or McCoonan,
okay,
who played Zebedee.
Right.
He's a Millwall fan. I listened to another interview he did.
Right.
Went to a lot of games during the cup run with Frank Harper.
Right.
I've never seen him down there, but I believe Tamer Hassan, who was in the film,
he's a Millwall fan. Tamer Hassan
was a well-known face with with some pretty well-known people down at Millwall.
Picking our words very carefully here. Some well-known people, yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's why I think the film had an authenticity to it because of that reason. I think it comes over. Yeah,
no, I wasn't trying to pick the words carefully. I was just trying to look through the list to see if we could get through. I
thought you come over all diplomatic in the off season,
Mate, yeah, I know work for World Rugby. I've got to be diplomatic.
But I'm going to stretch it slightly and claim Denzel Washington if we're in the world of film and Hollywood celebrity. Apparently, Denzel Washington was seen on the Coldblow Lane end in the 80s.
He was.
He was doing research, I believe, for a role. I'm just looking up Denzel Washington now.
If you actually listen to that Criminal Connections podcast with Frank Harper, it was Frank that took him to the game.
Okay.
I believe they were doing a film or something.
Yeah, and
together.
I was looking at the film earlier on. It was a story of Washington was playing a black British ex-soldier who'd come out of the army after the Falklands and had gone back to his old stamping ground and the various characters and pressures and things of that kind. And he wanted to polish his accent to get it authentic. So I imagine that's why Frank would have taken him down the den to pick up on the kind of language and sounds that you would hear to look and sound authentic, because he's one of these method actors. He puts a lot of work into sounding like the real deal.
Yeah, but at least he'd be able to say cunt properly, won't he?
I'm trying to find the name of the movie because I remember watching it. It was quite a good one, actually. It'll come back to me later. But yeah, Denzel Washington. He might have only been brief, but I'm sure he's still got a soft spot for Millwall. How about this one then, Neil? And I remember seeing this photograph. Emilio Estevez, son of Martin Sheen, part of the Sheen family. He put a picture out wearing a Millwall shirt a few years ago now. I think it was back in the 2000s. And I don't know why he did it. He claimed he was a Millwall fan briefly. I'm not sure he really is, but he was pictured wearing, an old Royal Blue Roaring Lion Millwall shirt, which is...
around Hollywood or somewhere, wasn't it?
I don't know if there was someone out there. Someone must have got him the shirt from somewhere. I mean... And I don't know. He claimed he was a Millwall fan, so that's good. That makes you
probably one of the strangest. Apart from Denzel Washington, it must be one of the more strangest connections.
I mean, we are being very loose. let's just say that he's a close friend of John Bon Jovi. He was married to Demi Moore, or he had a high-profile engagement to Demi Moore, and he was married to Paula Abdul, the singer, choreographer. So, you know, and he's a member of the Charlie Sheen's and Marley Sheen's family. So that's good enough for me, mate.
Yeah, well, you just imagine him saying to Demi Moore or Paula Abdul, "Do you fancy an afternoon down the den in Birdshit Corner?"
Demi, we've got Portsmouth at home in the Caribou Cup. Are you coming?
Yeah, you up for it?
hard to say no to that kind of invite. But anyway, there is Emilio Estevez.
Achtung, Millwall.
Neil, Morrissey, controversial choice by some nowadays, but I like his music. I've always liked his music. I think he's a character, and I know he says one or two things to upset one or two people, but I like his sound. He claimed to be a Millwall fan a few years ago, and there was a picture by our own dear Paul, an article by dear Paul Jiggins in the Sun, claiming him as a Millwall supporter. He went through a little phase of liking to hang around with rough working class boys who follow football. I don't know what was behind all that. That's all do you.
Mate, I'm not going to argue the Smiths, the greatest band the world has ever known.
Oh, that's big. Yeah. Okay.
Huge Smiths fan. So to have Morrissey as a Millwall fan,
yeah,
I'm not going to argue.
It was in the Sun. So again, a bit like House of Fun. If it's in the Sun or in the House of Fun, we claim it as the absolute truth.
I believe there was a quote from, was it Kevin Gallen? Or was it Steve Gallen? Right. It was one of the Gallons that apparently introduced him to Millwall, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Looking at that story.
Okay.
So no, Morrissey, I think was spotted around LA wearing a Millwall shirt.
He was pictured with a Millwall shirt on. That's right.
So can't argue with it.
I think he might have had a West Ham shirt on at one point as well, but I think it's all part of this whole kind of East End thing. Let's leave it there. But anyway, Morrissey.
Put off the Smiths.
Of the Smiths. Not the solo work. You don't hold of his solo work so much? No?
Every Day is Like Sunday was
That's good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's the video.
I think he's
he goes to James Dean's hometown in that video, doesn't he? Every Day is Like Sunday. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's his earlier stuff is a lot better than his later solo stuff.
There you go, listeners. Not only is it football, not only is it Millwall, not only is it Bants on this show, but you also get a bit of Millwall music direction. That's not bad. Next on my list, Blake Harrison, who is an English actor, best known for playing Neil Sutherland in The Inbetweeners, a show, Neil, I've never watched. I've never watched The Inbetweeners. Can you believe it?
Yeah, well, you've never heard them shout butter.
Well, I've seen stuff, like so much in modern life now. You see it in clips on social media. So I've seen it, and I'm kind of aware of some of the bigger scenes in the scene. I've never actually sat down and watched an episode of The Inbetweeners at all. But which will probably amaze some people, because there are people out there that kind of memorise whole stretches of conversation and dialogue on there. But I understand it to be a comedy show about coming of age of 4 young teenagers.
It was very funny.
Was it? I've never.
It was very funny. It was of its time, shall we say?
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. It was one of those programs that they made. I only know because I saw a program on it the other week, and it caught the public's imagination.
I think that's often the way, isn't it? And it's interesting how actors in those kinds of shows they progress. I'm just looking at the rest of his career. He's played in a number of shows. In Bob the Builder, who's the voice in Bob the Builder. He's played Private Pike in the film remake of Dad's Army. And he's played in A Very English Scandal, which was about the Jeremy Thorpe downfall. So he's gone on to you know, better things. He's a fan of Millwall FC, it says here on Wikipedia, and he attended Bacon's College in Rotherhithe, South London.
Yeah, the only thing is, I think he criticised Millwall fans over the booing of the knees. So it's one of those things that but he isn't being forgiven for that by by some people, shall we say. I'm trying to be diplomatic here now. This is a new tack until you get me and Harry on the same.
I'm loving the new diplomatic Fissler for the show. That's what I'm liking, listeners. Who you got on your list? You got anyone? I'm about halfway through my list here at the moment. You got who's on yours, Neil? We haven't had yet already.
I'm gonna. This is it. He might be on your list because I got this off Millwall Online. Was Bruce Forsyth's musical director and pianist Don Hunt.
I read about this guy's quite a character. I'd never heard of him, but he was a musical director for Bruce Forsyth, who was a big star. Listeners, I think youngsters probably will probably only know him from his recent years on Strictly Come Dancing, but he was a major TV figure. He was bigger than Des O'Connor. Yeah.
I think it's quite safe to say you could not switch on your television on a Saturday night in the 70s without Bruce Forsyth being on the Generation Game.
Yeah, that was a huge Saturday night show. Massive.
He married Anthea
Redfern.
Anthea Redfern, that was her name.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a game show where you had to memorise a conveyor belt of prizes at the end, wasn't it? And for everyone you could remember, you won
it. I mean, it's really hard to get across to kids now. I sound so old when I say this, Neil, but because the world media generally is so splintered, everyone goes and looks at their own screen separately. Whereas, in my youth, your youth, everyone had to look at the same screen and that was often whatever your dad said was going to be on. That was what was going to be on, and you had to watch it whether you liked it or not. There's no other alternative. So you often found yourself looking at stuff that you wouldn't normally have chosen, and that could often include artists like Bruce Forsyth. And at the time, you don't think about them so much, but as you get older, you remember that these were huge figures, and the sheer numbers of people watching. I remember I think the Sun used to have like the weekly JICTAR was like an audience number monitoring service for TV shows, and the numbers would be like 15 to 20 million people will be watching these shows. Whereas now, if you scratch the surface of that, you'd be happy. Maybe if you get 1 million people watching your show, you're really, really happy. And back then, those kinds of numbers were kind of normal for mainstream Saturday, working day week evening shows, and Bruce Forsyth was the king of that. But the man we're talking about was his musical director. What was his name again, Neil? This chap?
Don Hunt.
Don Hunt. And apparently he's a Millwall fan.
Yeah, apparently, according to Millwall Online.
Okay, well that's something, and apparently quite a figure. There's a podcast with his interview, and he's quite a character. I think he's good value to listen to, if that's your thing, listeners. So check that out. It's on Millwall Online. A lot of my names here. I'm going to confess to Neil, who's my father confessor here. I nicked it all off of Millwall Online. So thank you to the Millwall Online website for this, because otherwise I would have been a bit lost. Gary Oldman, Neil. There's a name. We're going to go back to Hollywood now. There's a huge talent as well. Gary Oldman and his sister Layla Morse as well. Love Millwall fans.
Yeah, Gary Oldman. I believe he claimed that his dad or granddad played for us in World War II.
Right. I didn't know.
But I've never been able to find the connection. But I believe was a local bloke.
Yeah. Born in London. He went to Rose Bruford College, which was in Sidcup. His sister is Layla Morse, who was in EastEnders. Born in New Cross, 1958, son of Leonard Bertram Oldman, former sailor who works as a welder, and a major star. I watched Gary Oldman. He's one of these actors. He's played Winston Churchill, and he's played various characters, and he becomes that person, which I think is the sign of a good actor. You forget you're watching Gary Oldman, you then watching the character he's playing. But there was a show, and it was on Apple TV, called Slow Horses, where he plays a kind of sloven. I don't know if you've seen it, but he plays like a slovenly spy master.
Brilliant,
absolutely brilliant.
Yep.
And I was trying to tell my wife this. The accent is nailed on. Camberwell, New Cross, Peckham, old school accent. It's hard to describe it unless you know it and you hear it. And it is that. And it's just so... I kept laughing because I was hearing words and expressions and turns of phrase and emphasis in sentences that just kind of bring back your childhood to you, because you haven't heard it in a long time. And he nails it. And it's a brilliant series and a great characterisation, amongst many, many others. I mean, I'm just looking at his film career here. Smiley and Tinker Tailor. We've mentioned Winston Churchill, Planet of the Apes. He was in that. All sorts of things. Major star. Millwall fan. As is his sister, Layla Morse, as well. So
I think she actually played Little Mo, didn't
Little
she?
Mo in EastEnders,
not...
yeah. Kind of like I think she had quite a hard life as well. I don't think she had it easy in her time either. There we are. So we've hit the high levels of stardom now. We'll be back after the break with a continuation of Neil and my Entertainment Weekly list of celebs.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back, Neil. Greg Wallace. He's a Millwall fan. He's got a Millwall lion tattooed on his chest. The celebrity chef. What's it called? Master Chef. He's on that, isn't he? Greg Wallace.
Yeah, I've seen him down the den.
Yeah.
Seen him queuing for tickets in the exec club.
Absolutely.
And I've been waiting to get a press pass for something. And he's just been in front of me.
He's done well for himself. Greengrocer, local greengrocer, and he's got himself into TV, and that's really, his world's taken off in real terms from there. Good luck to him.
He's a big name in the world, a master chef, isn't he? And
it's a massively popular program, isn't it? I mean,
mate, I always get, but it always makes me smile when they're doing when he sat there next to Monica Galetti, and Mark Waring's about to knock him up something out of a rasher of bacon, a bit of chicken, and this, that, and the other, and he's almost foaming at the mouth because he can't wait to taste it. It always makes me smile.
It's brilliant. I mean, I call it wallpaper viewing because it can be on. It's inoffensive. You'll never not watch it. It's never going to cause you any upset. But you don't necessarily have to watch it either. It can be just on, and it's there, and that's a highly successful format. The thing that always makes me laugh is when one of the contestants is trying to impress. They've got John Turode and Greg Wallace, and if John Turode likes it, you're going to go through. If Greg Wallace likes it and John Turode don't, you ain't going to go through. It's the Michelin star chef that you really want to impress, not the greengrocer from Bermondsey.
Yeah, what I'm actually waiting for is for a Millwall. I do believe there's a Millwall fan went on.
There's Scott. I don't know if Scott's listening to this show, and I can't remember your surname, Scott. Forgive me, but Scott was on there, and he did really well. He was a finalist. I think he lost out in the final, but he was a very, very decent level of chef, and he was at one of the major restaurants around town. But I'm sure it'll come back to me. His surname, Scott. If you're listening, big shout out to you, mate.
Scott, even if you're listening, can you come on?
Yeah.
And come get you on here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you qualify as a celebrity.
And
but that's
you wait, Scott, and I'll do you my beans on toast, mate. Honestly, you will be impressed.
Can we get Scott on? Yeah, but if anybody knows Scott, or Scott, if you're listening, you know how to get hold of us. Either of us.
Give us a shout. That'd be good.
We'd love to get you on for a little bit of Millwall culinary discussion.
Good shout. Loose one there for you, Neil, and it is very loose. David Hay claimed to be a Millwall fan. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that, the boxer. But he claimed to be Millwall. David
Hay told me that he was a Millwall fan.
Mm.
But I believe he's more of a Chelsea. He's seen as more of a Chelsea fan. Of course, Frank or Kelly Maloney,
Kelly, yeah,
definitely Millwall
absolutely,
fan.
absolutely.
Millwall fan.
I did an interview.
Sure
I did an interview with Kelly, and it's on one of the in the depths of the archive of this show. If you'd have to go a long way to find it, but it's out there somewhere. And I caught up with Kelly when she was coming back to the Den for the first time after the transition from Frank to Kelly. And I met up with Kelly in one of the exec boxes over on the where I sit the far side, and she had a kind of a TV crew from Channel 5 in tow, filming this. And the one thing that really struck me, I think they'd gone along there to TV expecting it to be some kind of like a freak show, like where you're going back to the Den with this obviously transformed person, and I think they were expecting her to get slaughtered. And she didn't. It was one of the most supportive environments. I mean, there's people looking, of course, but it was actually quite supportive. And, you wouldn't expect that, would you?
Yeah, well, I do remember the song Kelly Maloney, She's One of Our Own, I believe.
I mean, don't get me wrong, listeners, there's humour, I mean, you can't go to the Den and not expect the piss to be taken, but it wasn't done maliciously, Neil.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Millwall is, if you're one of our own, if you're one of us, Millwall is a very supportive environment. I know people think that all Millwall fans are far right.
Well, there's certainly a desire for them to be cartoon moronic thugs, and it's very, very far from the case. I'm not saying we don't have one or two, of course we do, but for the most mainstream Millwall fans, they're very supportive people, and of course you're going to get the piss taken. Don't go down there thinking you won't. I'm not sure there was much of a TV show in it for them because I think what they were looking for didn't happen.
They were looking for
they were looking for sensation. Didn't find it,
Yeah, basically, but Kelly Malone is respected Millwall fan.
Absolutely, absolutely, and as a boxing promoter back in the day as well, a major figure in the boxing world, and with some champions, including David Hay in the stable. Rob Liddell, another.
I wanted to stay on boxing because I thought there was a thing.
Stay on, yeah.
I was going to mention a few actually. Johnny Garton.
Yes, met him. Yeah, nice guy.
Millwall fan.
Very nice guy.
Chris. Oh, can't remember his bloody surname. Boxing at the moment. Follow him. Nice bloke.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to wind me up. This is forever. Freddie Mills, according to Dave Sullivan.
Freddie Mills, he was famously met a mysterious end. He's a British boxing champion of the 50s, I believe.
He was a world boxing champion, wasn't he?
Just looking at his thing. Yeah, he became a
very well-known underworld figure as well.
Yes, he was a middleweight. And just on his professional career, British light heavyweight title, world title fight. Yeah, and they became a figure on kind of early days of TV. So he was co-presented 6-5 Special, which was a kind of music show in the late 50s, and went on to the early 60s. He opened a Chinese restaurant in Soho before there was actually an established Chinatown in the area, so he was one of the forerunners of what we would now call Chinatown, and ran his own nightclub until his mysterious death. I think he was found shot, Neil, if memory serves.
Yeah, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories on that one.
Yeah, didn't know he was a Millwall fan. That's another good one. I like that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to bow to Dave Sullivan's superior knowledge on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, as you said, Rod Liddell, very, very well-known Millwall fan,
journalist, ex-Radio 4 editor. I think it was Today, so major program on the lead program really on Radio 4 in his time. he also he writes columns for various. He courts controversy. Let's say that he writes columns for various magazines. Spectator, I've seen his name linked with, and another.
Sun, Times, I think quite a lot.
Sunday Times, the Times, and so on. Very very clever bloke. And I've seen him at the Den. He was there a few years ago now, but I remember seeing him at the Den. So regular, and also he's a regular, or used to be a regular on Mill Online, but whether he still is or not, I don't know. He got a lot of flack for, for that. I think, and other stuff at the time. So Rob Little,
You're the second best. You're the second best Millwall supporting journalist.
Second best. Let's leave that to hang in the air, there, listeners. Let's leave that just to drift off into the wind. Daniel Day-Lewis, Neil. Millwall.
My left foot and all of this lot, yeah.
Very, very good actor. So I'm just getting his Wikipedia here. He was born in he was born in Kensington.
Yeah, very, very good. Might be doing him a disservice. I think even I would have to concede. The bloody brilliant actor.
Very, very good. You never saw me in the Castle School nativity play, so that was a very, very good bit of acting. There Will Be Blood, Lincoln, Gangs of New York, Last of the Mohicans, The Crucible, The Boxer, you name it. He's been apparently a Millwall fan. I'm just trying to find the linkage. Did he not live in? He lived locally, I think, somewhere. It became a Millwall. Was seen at the Den a few times.
Yeah, but I think he's definitely a Millwall fan. I think he was well known down the Den.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis. There we are.
He was probably disguised, probably preparing.
There it is. He's a supporter of South East London Football Club Millwall. He's also, this is in his Wikipedia, so it's got to be true. There we are. And there's no higher accolade. He's got a lot of acting accolades, but there's no higher accolade than me on Achtung Millwall saying he's a very, very good actor. It doesn't get much better than that. That beats a Grammy, that beats a Tony, it beats an Oscar, you name it.
Achtung, Millwall.
Lars Frederiksen. I didn't know this name at all. It's not really my scene of music, Neil, but it's like a American punk kind of sound, punk rock musician, and he's a guitarist with Rancid. I don't know my Rancid. Do you know him at all?
Mate, it sounds like a burger from one of the concessions, doesn't it?
He's got a Millwall line on his guitar. I love the name of one of his albums. Rancid is the band name. Listen, I mean, this is not my scene, so there was the name of the album though was some piss or something or other. I don't know what it was called. It's not very enticing name. Stick on your.
Maybe him, Don Hunt, and the geezer from Green Day. We could actually get together and might play a gig down the Den next summer.
Millwall fan though is Lars and the Old Firm Casuals wrote a new team anthem theme song for the San Jose Earthquakes. That's the American group. So anyway, Lars Frederiksen. Got any more, Neil?
I'm gonna go with another singer, Marion Ryan. This again is from the memory bank of Dave Sullivan.
Wow.
The mother, she was a singer, but the mother of the 80s singing duo, Paul and Barry Ryan.
Right.
I hadn't heard of them.
No.
Hadn't heard of her, but I won't doubt Dave's word on them.
No. I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at her biography here. She was a British singer in the early years of British independent television, so ITV. She was once called the Marilyn Monroe of popular song. That's quite some accolade. She worked with Ray Ellington. I've seen the name. I don't know much of his music, but it sounds like kind of TV friendly. She worked with Tommy Steele, so maybe there's a link there. I don't know. Local boy Tommy Steele, kind of easy listening, mainstream easy listening, 1950s music. Marion Ryan, new one on me. I didn't know her at all.
Yeah, well, Tommy Steele's supposedly a Millwall fan as well, wasn't he?
You'd think so. You'd think so. Actually, I might have a look. I don't know if it's ever really been directly linked. I haven't seen. I mean, he was a local boy, wasn't he, from Bermondsey? So you would have thought so. Let's have a quick look whilst I'll keep talking nonsense whilst I have a quick look.
Let's throw a couple more.
Go on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give us a couple of cricketers. John Embry.
Yep.
Middlesex England spinner.
Yep.
Who has told me that he was a Millwall fan. I believe he's
local boy of Peckham. I believe he came from, didn't he?
I believe he was a Peckham boy.
Yeah.
Follows the club closely. But one I didn't know until I read a piece in the Times last year.
Yeah.
Is a guy called Ali Orr, who is a current Hampshire batsman.
Okay.
Or batter, as they say.
Batter,
Born in Eastbourne, but supports Millwall. So,
right.
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's not a bad one. So, we're playing. Chris Bourke was the boxer.
Chris Bourke.
Of course.
Yeah, I've met him. I've met him. I went to do an interview with him. He was working, training at the local Peacock gym around here. So I went out to meet him. Yeah, no, Chris. Yeah, nice guy. Yep. Often the thing with boxers, I know you can't say it all the time, but the guys that I've met, really nice blokes. Which is a strange contrast with the hard edge of the trade, isn't it? Often really.
I was a boxer, right? So that was my first ever job on Fleet Street.
Yeah.
And I went back to it when I was on the Sunday Express, and the likes of David Hay and that, lovely guys.
Yeah.
You'd see it in the street, or you'd see it at a show.
Yeah.
They'll say hello, have a chat to you. So boxers are just, they're not. Yeah, well, I know they're sportsmen, but they're normal sportsmen.
I suppose you're in a line of work where pretty much anyone can hurt anyone. If at the right moment, so you have to have a certain respect for your opponent in that sense. I know there's always going to be some that are a lot better than others, but it's when you get in the ring. I think Frank Bruno said you've got to respect the man that's got the cajones to get in the ring with you. So. I've always found every boxer I've ever spoken to be really nice guys to talk to. It's interesting. I've got another actor here for you, Neil. P.H. Moriarty, who plays Razors in Long Good Friday, and he was also in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. And I've seen he was a big, very distinctive looking bloke. P.H. Moriarty. He was like a heavy. If you wanted a South East London heavy, you got hold of him because he just had that kind of bulky presence on screen. He was Razors in the Bob Hoskins Long Good Friday movie.
Who else have you got? I'm down to two.
Down to two. I've got a few here. I'll rattle through a few because some of these are. I'm stretching the term celebrity here. There's a Roy Pierce of the Four Skins band, who are like a hard edge punk band of the late 70s, early 80s. I don't know their sound. Wasn't my scene. Gary Lamin of the Cockney Sparrow, Cock Sparrow. Here's one from the world of rugby league for you, Neil. Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook, rugby league player, Millwall fan.
Yeah,
played for London Broncos and went up north, didn't he? He went to the heartland of it.
St Helens was at St Helens for donkey's years.
Yeah,
very, very good young player.
Yeah,
at the Broncos, and has carved out a decent career for himself in rugby league.
Scroobius Pip is another one I've got here from the world of music. Again, not my sound, but he's a Millwall fan. I know he's a Millwall fan because I've met him. And he was seen. I think he might have been another one that fell foul of the great knee bar.
Yeah, I think did he used to sit in the West Lower?
He did. I don't know if he still does. I can't imagine he's stopped, but whether he still goes or not, I don't know. He's a kind of a poet, come think he does more podcasting than singing now or music. It was kind of like an electronic poetry sound that he did.
A spoken word poet, wasn't it?
Not my scene, listeners. You know, I sometimes age overtakes you too much.
Didn't he do a version of Let 'Em Come?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, quite an interesting take on it. Quite an interesting sound, you know. But I'm not sure I'd stick it on in the car if I was going driving. That's always my marker of whether I listen to it or not.
Yeah, Mrs. Switch it off immediately.
What else? I've done him. Ian Wright, of course, the TV pundit and Crystal Palace and Arsenal star, Millwall fan, wasn't he? Supposedly, in his day. I think he was. I think he's spoken well of us when he's been on telly. So I'm going to give it to him.
I think if you want to add footballers, Gary O'Neill and Jamie O'Hara.
And there was the Birmingham. He actually came back to us, but he was well out over the top there. I can't think of his name now. Centre half. Played for Birmingham for a long while. He was a Millwall fan.
Darren Purse.
He came to us late in his career, but he was a Millwall supporter.
Definitely was. Jamie O'Hara, Gary O'Neill, Purse. Yep. So there's a few more.
Last couple from me, Neil. I've got the piano player at the Ritz. I don't know this bloke's name, so the definition of celebrity is that you're known by your name. And there's a video of him playing Let 'Em Come on the piano at the Ritz Hotel in Piccadilly, which I think is played very Tinkling the Ivories. Did a version of Let 'Em Come, and I thought, well, that's celebrity by him, but I don't know his name, so maybe I've undone my own tag there. But a celebrity where you don't know his name is a bit of a contradiction. And lastly, I think I called it quits here. Craig Fairbrass from London's Burning, apparently actor, apparently Millwall fan. Craig Fairbrass from London's Burning.
Yeah, plays in The Rise of the Foot Soldiers. Plays.
Another kind of actor of that ilk, isn't he? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, plays that wonderful character. The guy that was one of the guys that was shot dead.
It was in For Queen and Country. Then that was the name of the film. He was in For Queen and Country with Denzel Washington. It was 1988 crime drama. Apparently Denzel. That's the one. I'm going right back to the start of the conversation. Craig Fairbrass was in it.
I'm just going to finish off with two. Bob Fabian, a policeman, well known as Fabian of the Yard.
Fabian of the Yard. I've heard of him.
He was born in Lewisham, and according to Dave Sullivan, was supposedly a Millwall fan. So we're claiming him as a celebrity. Probably
TV series. Yeah. Go on.
My final one probably wasn't a celebrity, but somebody who I knew through Sunday morning football before I saw him down the Den. Bob Crow.
Bob Crow, yeah, trade unionist, yeah. Major figure. Railway Union, Railway Maritime. And very effective trade union leader. It was like the devil incarnate for many in Fleet Street, the columnists, but very effective negotiator for his members. And I think people often moan about the wages train drivers get, especially when they go on strike. And that was largely thanks to the efforts of Bob Crow. I never met him. I wish I had met him, but I think he had the kind of he created a public image of himself that was at odds with a private person. I think he was a much more pleasant person than often he might have come across in his dealings with the media.
Mate, he was a lovely guy. Just a quick story. I can remember we used to get the train back from Canada Water.
Yeah.
And one night we've got this train back. Yeah, well, we've got on the tube, and all of a sudden the driver slammed on the brakes. Yeah, we stood up. I've got Bob Crow on top of me. And Bob said, I wish I knew the fucking cunt that fucking ran the union for this fucking idiot. And he just smiled and laughed. And we laughed. And I think a couple of other people recognised. And as we all picked ourselves up It was just one of those moments where you just smiled and you had a little chuckle to yourself. But I actually knew him. He ran a couple of Sunday morning clubs in and around the Dagenham Barking area when I refereed many years ago.
Yeah.
And we knew each other from there. And he sat in the East Upper, from what I can remember. Was always very quick out the ground at the end, because I think he lived Buckhurst Hill way.
Yeah.
But
Rob Crowe, major loss. Passed away a few years ago now. Major loss to the trade union movement. And as we've just said, the public image and the private person are often very, very different. So I think that's probably a good way to leave the show now. It's been an interesting show, actually. I hope we've raised everyone's spirits a little bit with our list of Mill celebrities. Very loose in some cases.
A bumper edition, Nick. We've been on for
bumper edition. I should have mentioned there was a Finnish. I know this guy is a Millwall fan because I met him. He was a Finnish right-wing politician, but he was in the Member of Parliament, the Finnish Parliament, and he was a very anti-EU, Timo Schwani. And I met him when I used to sell the fanzines at the Den, and he came along, bought a fanzine, a Coldblow Lane magazine, and he was a major figure in the Finnish Parliament. I don't know if he's still Member of Parliament out there, but he was quite a critic of the EU and Finland's membership of it. So Timo Schwani. I've left it off my list there. I've got it on a piece of paper instead. There we are. That's the show. Big thank you to Neil. Good to see you again, mate. Nice to catch up for this time for the new season.
Yeah, it's going to be great to be depressed again, isn't it? A couple of times a week.
Yeah. I nearly said come 5 o'clock on Saturday. I think it's going to be come 2:30 because we all kick off at 12:30. But that's the TV deal.
I can't get my head around this year. We've got a lot of lunchtime kickoffs, haven't we? And
it's a live TV show, isn't it?
Yeah, I generally work on a Saturday morning because I've got to pump a column out, and I quite like a couple of hours in between finishing work.
Yeah.
Just to gather
thinking about
thoughts, just to gather my thoughts and make sure everything's okay. But
someone posted on Twitter about football. The EFL has sold its soul. I felt like replying. I think that got sold about 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah,
it's sold. I think that when Sky TV came in, didn't it? But there we are.
Yeah, I think when Sky TV pitched up, I think that's when.
That was the end of the line. There we are. Neil, good to talk to you, mate. We'll keep in touch. And thank you to you too, dear listeners, for staying with the show. If you listened this far, well done. And we shall be back at the weekend with the first proper edition, I suppose, of Achtung Mill for the new season. So, till Saturday, it's Arrivederci Mill from Neil and myself. Bye for now.
Sports Social Podcast Network.